We are back, and we're gonna try something new this year. Since podcasts are really long form content, we are gonna do video and apply this to my YouTube page. So we're gonna see how that goes, how many views we get, and see how much interaction we get. This is the Council Connection. I am Fabion Vicks, and I am a new high school counselor. For the first couple weeks as a new high school counselor, and woo, it's a lot. Talk about what I've learned, mindset shift. At least I can say for those that know me, I don't have to do 2.5 hours of duty every day. This part of the show, I said, let's go. So let me set the context up. I was hired at Westside High School. For those that know me, I'm in Georgia, and I was in Bibb County, and then went to Henry, and now back in Bibb after my last job. I graduated. So my time that I had in Henry was up. I was led to another location. I felt that shift because I needed a change. Let me start off with that first. Second of all, I'm twiddling my thumbs every day, not feeling a challenge, and it's time to move on and do something different. Even if it was been middle school, it would have been a different challenge, a new building, but I wanted something different. I wanted something more. I wanted to have more of an impact, which is why I've always felt the pull to go to high school. Let me get that out of the way. Period. New sentence. I had enjoyed my time in Henry County. I learned a lot of things. I made friends there and learned how to be a counselor, how not to be a counselor, how to and how not to lead, how to use my voice, when not to use my voice. When I use my voice, will it be used against me? When I stand up for what I don't like, or will people actually advocate for you, or will they just be status quo and put a ball back in your court, or just not do nothing at all? Those are the things I learned. So in my next journey as a high school counselor, I will use those lessons I have learned to be a more effective counselor and a more effective leader in my building. Because some folks say counselors are leaders. We are, because we're part of, guiding our youth. We're a stakeholder. Some principals don't want counselors on their leadership team, maybe one, instead of just having one person on the leadership team that's going to, not challenge the principal when they're wrong, or kowtow what they want, or just for the optics, just for pictures, doing things for the gram. You'll be going in circles doing that. But the setup for me being a high school counselor, I'm a 200-day employee, and as a high school counselor here in my new school, it's a difference. You get pretty much your summer, versus the 220, where I'm done with scheduling and just maybe tweak some things here and there. You're just fulfilling your contract, unless something has to be changed in the master schedule. You have to go in and change it. You're up to your last day changing it. Where previous schools, sometimes those things you can't help because of staffing, or just something they want to adjust and change. You can't control that. But being a 200-day employee means you come back after about 6 weeks off. There's about 4 weeks till the kids get there. You have some time, but being a new employee to a county, that hinders you because you'll lose some time because of new employee orientation. Plus the fact that my department is changed over a little bit, where 2 of the counselors have went out to bigger, better things in another county, and you have to rebuild it. The council department is rebuilt. So building a department from scratch per se, learning their styles, seeing what they know and not know while you're learning high school yourself. I'm not being hyperbolic when I say this. It's new school, new team, new system, which is why I say new counselor who this, new high school counselor who this me, new high school counselor here. So 4 weeks to get that for school students get there. So a lot of counselors don't get those extra couple weeks before teachers come back, and I'm grateful for that time. Now, do I wish I was 220? Yeah, well, the money, yeah, is an adjustment, but at the same time, I'm looking at being prepared for the year. I don't like not being prepared. I'm not saying I'm not prepared because the way to get high school experience is to be in high school. So there's no amount of podcasts you can listen to. There's no amount of books you can read. There's no amount of internship you can have to be ready for high school. You have to actually be immersed in high school. Um, but I'm thankful for the time I do have being able to get ready and adjust and learn, which is something I love to do is always learn because being stagnant in a role for 10 years as a middle school counselor and not being able to change things and do things differently, that can be tiresome and cause burnout and boredom. Um, but that's part of being a high school counselor. Being a counselor, just trying to reinvent different things. Some people say there's no need to reinvent the wheel. Yes, it is sometimes. Sometimes you got to take that realm off and build a new realm and use a different time to kind of tire on there and make that thing roll and see how it rolls. If it kind of rolls wobbly, then you take the tire off and make sure you check the threading, check the air, check the wheel bearings. There's nothing wrong with change. Nothing wrong with that. A couple different things as far as different challenges as far as high school counselor that I've encountered. I'm being honest when I say this. I'm grateful for it. For me, I'm learning on the fly, which is cool. The master schedules of beast, it has to be right. What I'm saying is, I have to learn to make sure that things are in place. I have to make sure that classes are balanced. The teachers are in the right class, making sure that if we're getting credit for different things, make sure same thing, classes are coded, make sure teachers are coded, make sure students are on the right pathway, make sure students transcripts are audited and balanced, which is a whole nother thing in itself. But with the 200-day employee versus 220, where you have the extra 20 days to manage those audits and make sure the kids are scheduled properly and balanced and whatnot. So that's another thing I'm pivoting to and learning. Learn about dual enrollment, work-based learning, in-house dual enrollment, AP classes requirements. It's a different challenge. It's not harder. It's just different. This is not where middle school. I want to get out this teacher class because I don't like the teacher or I don't understand the teacher. We're reshaping and reframing mindsets and reshaping, reframing careers and futures for kids. That's our role as a high school counselor. That's my role as a high school counselor. We have a certain amount of influence as far as guiding. I ain't gonna say guidance counselor as far as advising. Let's reframe that word guidance. That's an antiquated term, so it's now advisement, advising, honesty, complexity, comprehension. Make sure kids get all that. Make sure they're aware of the decisions they're making and make sure they understand the moves we're making, why we're making those moves. I can honestly say I had a student come to my office where he was a behavior issue in the A period class. The teacher requested he go to a first period class. The AP agreed, brought the student in. He almost had a crash out. I'm like, well, let's look like it is. You're keeping the same teacher. You're just going to first period. It'll be better for you. Because now going forward, if you continue to do the behaviors you do in A period, now we did an intervention by changing your schedule. We could move forward with, well, administrators can move forward, not me, because I'm not an administrator. Admin can move forward with the discipline that will be attached to what you're doing. So, this part of the leveling up and that format. Block scheduling, so the adjusted block where they have an A and B day format where every other day you take 4 classes and then and the opposite day you take four different classes. So instead of taking 4 classes every day for a semester, you get that, and then the next semester you get 4 different classes. So that's different. So basically, they're taking 8 classes a year, but literally a year instead of 4 classes for 5 months and then another 4 classes for 5 months. That's different, which I can see that. So be a little bit less work for a little less stress for teachers. Still block hour and a half classes. So that's something to get used to as well. Um, Making sure that we're auditing. We'll discuss transcript auditing and how to track it and best practices on that later on in the year once I got a grip on it. I think I kind of do, but we'll talk about some things I'm going to be doing and we're going to be doing as a department for that. So we'll get to that later. Second challenge or change I've noticed is schedule requests are on steroids. We have about 1,000 students in our building, which is 110 less than my previous school, and it's a middle school. Um, we have 581 schedule requests from kids. Now, to be fair, the kids are putting in multiple requests for multiple periods. Some of them are seniors that taking dual enrollment classes and taking classes at a career center, and those classes need to come off. I get that. Some classes because the student don't want this specific teacher. I want to switch out of algebra 2. Well, you can't because that's a state required course. I need AP chemistry, regular chemistry. Yeah, we accommodate if we have it. I don't want AP so study because I don't like the teacher. Well, we need demographics. You're gifted, so you don't have to be stuck with that. You get a handful of high school, you're gonna get a lot of this. Middle school, you might maybe mainly connections. But high school is a little bit everything. It's constant and it feels chaotic, but once you set systems in place, the opposite word is systems in place. And support from admin, which is one thing I can say we have great support from our admin in this building. Principal and APs. Last school, the AP is cool. Make sure systems are in place for schedule changes and when students can see you and they're learning that. So making sure that those systems are in place for students to make appointments so that way they just won't be popping in there. They just won't come to your office for a schedule change. If we did the form, we'll get to it if it can be done. If you don't hear from us, we can't be done. Follow your schedule, attend in. It's not that hard. So we will get through the process once we get the kids on board with how we do things with that. It'll make our department feel like we're not being bombarded. So make it easier. This was a mind shift change, not for us as adults in the council department, for the kids as well. Like I just can't pop up to the council office just whenever I want to or willingly. I got a scheduled appointment. This will be my time that I've requested with the counselor to be with me. Not just I want to pop in and then spend 30 minutes waiting. And then next thing you know, you miss your whole block. So that's something we as a department are trying to build for these kids. That's a part of capacity with them. Okay. This also help kids learn their needs and what they want and what their career wants to turn out to be. All right. As I go council course, different role, higher stakes and more conversation, which all this ties in. Another different challenge. I guess if I had to do 3 different challenges, I did 1 and 2. This is 2.5. I don't have 2.5 hours of duty every day anymore. 25 minutes in the morning, 20 minutes during lunch, and maybe 10 on the bus lane. So that's an hour. And then lunch duty is every other day. So I might have 30 minutes one day. I might have an hour one day. That's more equitable. I could get things done. I could be more effective. I don't feel like I have to make a choice between the student and make sure I'm going to do this. I won't get rolled up. But at the same time, though, too, what counselor is doing 2.5 hours of duty? What is your coordinator doing for you if you are doing 2.5 hours of duty? If that is happening to you, if they're a coordinator that really does advocate for their staff, they will talk to not just your principal, but all principals and say, our counselor should not be doing 2.5 hours of duty. We should be asking questions about 2.5 hours of duty in an interview to candidates, or pushing it back to us, and then next thing you know, principals are mad because you talked to them about it. But you know, I'm rambling a little bit, but I'm just making a point for those that want to know. Um, but it was tiresome. It was cumbersome. Yeah, you could say you could build relationships. I'm like, so if it takes me 3 hours to build a relationship every day, how I'm going to build a relationship in the other 4 hours of the day? How I'm gonna do things that are required by the state and by my building to do my job every day. But that's another conversation for another episode. So um, most of the time when I was, trying not to be in my office, because right now we're fixing schedules and doing that. So right now I kind of don't have a choice but to be in there but to fix stuff. But going forward, I'm making sure that I'm floating on the hallways are clear, so they're in class. So there's nothing to do there. So advisement will be another key as far as having students come in and looking over transcripts, showing them how to read a transcript and balance the transcript. We're gonna be doing that. I do three different department, building a new department from as far as a new person. Make sure I've said this already. Three counselors. I have the most experience on all three of them, but I'm still learning high school. I got a person that was a teacher for high school for 20 years, but this is their first year as a counselor. I had another person that's been at that school in a different role, became a counselor to their third, fourth year as a counselor. So when you look at it, we're fairly new. When you average out all the years, that's 5 years between us, and I have 4/5 of the experience. Problem is, I have zero high school experience as far as being a counselor. They have high school experience working in high school, but limited in counseling experience as a high school counselor. So we are building that capacity as far as master scheduling and course creation and things that need to be done as a counselor to make sure that everything flows. So that's a great learning experience, and I will not trade this in anything in the world as far as a new depth of learning and learning a new knowledge base for myself. So creating our vision for our council department, I think we get along fine. I think we're learning together. We're building each other up, and we have the support from administrators to do that. Um, I can say students are different in high school. That's the next thing. These are not little kids, little babies. These are people that have a full voice and know what their career to be and what they want to take and what credits they need to graduate and what they want to do. And our job is to make sure we're advocating for them, make sure we're advising them properly, not guiding them, advising. Because at the end of the day, this is their decision. We want to make sure that we show them how to get to the right decision for them, not the right decision for us to make us feel good, the right decision for them to make them feel good. Um, like if a kid want to drop a class or they want to change a pathway, don't want to take a pathway. I'm like, you change this pathway, you finish a pathway, you get a cord. A lot of kids have saying that. I finish, I get a cord. Yeah, you gotta stay in the pathway though. You just can't switch pathways up. You'll get your requisite electives, but what we want kids to do in the building is finish pathways. So, which is why it is important for us to show kids the right pathway and they learn the pathways in the building. Now, with specific schools in Bibb County, each school has a main focus. My school is engineering, Rutland is agriculture, Northeast is health, Southwest is law, Central is fine arts. Howard, I can't remember what Howard is, but so it's House Bill 251. School choice pretty much for those schools. If you want a child to go to school to 9 years old, of course you will have to provide transportation for them there if it's in that pathway. So making sure that the kids follow the right pathway, they got the classes that they want to take, and make sure we ensure that things are ready for them to pick, and those are the right choice for them to make. Um, that's a big reason why I wanted to get out of middle school. I think I was at a point where I'm ready to make a change. I may have a bigger impact on our students' futures instead of, kind of give them a little bit. I want to give them the knowledge and experience that I have. That's my goal. So, were there any personal wins so far? Well, I was commuting every day, waking up at 6 o'clock, get to leave the house. I had to leave the house by about 6:40 to ensure that I'm there at a good enough time so I won't hit traffic. I can honestly say the last couple of years, I make sure I'm out the house by 6:45. I did not run into traffic. Maybe I count my hands maybe 4 times through the whole year out of 180 days. So I'm happy about that. Um, Still had to get up at 6 in the morning. Might have get up a little earlier, like 5:30, 5:40. Hit the snooze button 3 times. Get up 6:05 in the shower. If I'm out the house by 6:30, I'll be there at 7 because of street traffic. So expressway maybe about 6 minutes, and then neighborhood traffic 7 minutes. Then have to drive 10 minutes on the main street to get to the school. The one thing I do miss is a Starbucks on the way to work. So I wish they have a Starbucks near my school. They don't have a company called Red Owl, and they're okay, but it's not Starbucks, and Starbucks is, be honest with you, is cheaper. Um, so getting there 6, 7, students get out 2:35, out at 3. I still stay to 4 to document my time through Scooter, check emails, try to get my emails down to about 2 or 3, and I could just check the next day. My goal is to have less than 5 emails waiting for me the next day. That's my personal goal, to make sure that I have less than 5 new emails that I have not opened to look at me next day. Um, that's part of the win right there. Another win, as I said, I'm office. Another win is we have our own counseling room. We have a counseling suite on the hallway with kids, but we also have a separate room for us if we need to go plan, and we can use for meetings or whatnot as an option too. So, but building an apartment, learning each other, trying to build capacity, encouraging each other, teaching and learning from one another. That's some of the big wins I'm learning right now. So it's part of my growth as well too. Learning how to lead and learning how to grow and learning how to build. It's not going to happen. Been doing this for 4 weeks so far. It's not going to happen in 4 weeks. It's going to take time, and we have to encourage each other and make sure that we're not going to burn ourselves out doing this. So, if I had to tell you 2 weeks ago, how do I feel? Like, I still feel nervous right now. I feel more comfortable. I'm just more. It just now it's starting to kick in that wow, this is a lot. That's an honest conversation. Yeah, but I'd rather take this feeling of being overwhelmed and learning than just feel like what I'm just going to do today in middle school, same old stuff. It's gonna be something different. So building the infrastructure, building a relationship, understanding my role as a high school counselor, and then see what happens. Now, what's the through line? Through line is me adjusting still to a high school counselor, so I have to figure out how to be more ruthless in my planning, be more structured in my day-to-day activities. Listen, learn. I don't have to answer immediately. Um, a lot of different things for me is complex because I'm learning it and building that capacity for myself. Kids, to let the students tell us what they need, not tell them what they need. Listen to them, give them an explanation why. They respond, re-respond. That's building the conversation. Students need to learn how to advocate for themselves anyway. Parents can't always save them. A bigger role and responsibility doesn't mean harder. It's different, and I get better at it. You know, my role has changed. I had to learn how to use high school tools and middle school stuff. Throw that trash can. I do have ninth grade, and half of the seniors. Start treating kids as young adults. Let them know that the decisions they make there are requisite consequences that go along with it. Discomfort does not mean it's your failure. I'm trying to be comfortable being uncomfortable, which is nothing wrong with it. And the little things do build into bigger relationships. of course, my housekeeping items. Of course, I know I'm flying through this. I still don't like using StreamYard to have to record a podcast. I love the other format. Of course, you can follow on YouTube now for this. Follow me on TikTok. That's Fabion Vicks. Of course, Instagram as a counselor. Follow YouTube. Follow those platforms. YouTube, TikTok, maybe Instagram, Facebook page. Counsel Connection with Fabion Vicks. If you still listen to audio podcasts, you can listen to the audio podcast on Breaker, Pocket Cast, Overcast, Google Podcasts, and Apple Podcasts, and of course Spotify as a podcast. And my final thought: what I'm taking away for the first couple of weeks as a high school counselor, the transition is about doing more. It's about doing things way differently than what I've done before, and thrive in what I'm doing, and take the little wins, and don't overwhelm myself, because I'm a person that worry about everything instead of just keeping the main thing. I tell folks keep the main thing. I want to make sure I want to do it right. I don't want to make no mistakes, but guess what? I'm telling folks, you're gonna make mistakes. That's part of life. But I'm not taking my own advice. So I gotta change my mindset. I'm saying I know I'm gonna make mistakes. I'm gonna learn from these mistakes, build on those mistakes, and be the best counselor I could be. In mindset, have to shift for high school. It's gonna get better. Want to thank you for listening or watching my podcast. If you are in a transition from middle to high school, or middle to elementary, or elementary to middle, elementary to high, or high to elementary, I want to hear about it. What's the biggest challenge for you? What's the shift that you're navigating? Hit me up on my socials. I'm gonna read everything. I want to thank you for watching my podcast or listening to my podcast. This is gonna be different. It's gonna be so much fun. I'm out.